Alrighty, what's going on, everybody? My name's Dalton, and welcome to a new video here on the channel. Hopefully you guys are having a fantastic day. I know I am. I know I'm currently a little late to this, but today we're going to take a look at the Ben Johnson introductory press conference. I can't speak. Got it. But yeah, no, so I just wanted to let you guys... I wanted to basically record when this stuff came out. I know there's a lot of news coming, and that's kind of why Ryan Poles is on my screen right now, as we are taking a look at what Ben Johnson has to say. Now, I will say this very clear. He's going to say a lot of good things. He's going to say a lot of things we want to hear. He's going to say a lot of things that we want him to say. And he's going to say things to make us happy. The only way I will believe it is if he actually does the job. I want to see, in all honesty, I want to see at least 9 wins out of Ben Johnson. I want to see a winning season out of Ben Johnson this season. I would like him to go to the playoffs. I mean, he's got the pieces to do so. But, I mean, he's got a lot of work on his hands with Caleb Williams and the offensive line. I know that's what they're looking at. And, again, he's going to go over this here in the press conference of what he's got going on, what he wants to do. I'm only going to say nine wins. Because I really believe the first season is meant to be a foundation period. I know he's going to want to be in win-now mode. But, right now we need to build – with what we got into a good season, right? Like, that's what we want. We want to build into a good season. Alrighty, guys. So we're gonna go ahead and jump into it, and we'll see how it goes. That it was.
His football IQ, and his vision for winning football. The great thing is when you make calls to his teammates in North Carolina, staff. Without further ado, I want to introduce Ben Johnson, head coach of the Chicago Bears.
Sorry, guys.
Good morning. It is an honor to stand before everyone today as the head coach of the Chicago Bears. I would be remiss not to acknowledge a number of people that have helped me along the way here, starting with where I just came from. Sheila Ford Hamp and her family have been incredible for the last 6 years.
Sounds better, right?
My life,
Yeah. Okay.
Making Detroit and the Lions organization a great place for me and my family and raising our kids. Dan Campbell is more than just a colleague to me. He is a friend. He is a mentor. He is a man that trusted me when he didn't need to, and I will forever be in his debt and respect the heck out of him. He's an amazing person. One time someone told me he is a unicorn, and they could not be more true words than that. I appreciate Rod Wood, Mike Disner, the rest of the executives there in Detroit. They were a pleasure to work with, and it was one of the most memorable times being able to turn that franchise around. The offensive staff in Detroit. There might have been some tough nights, there might have been some tough game days, but I do appreciate your support, your understanding, and really your camaraderie at the end of the day. The players, man, this is one of the hardest things to do is to leave a group of men that you love. And I will forever be impacted by St. Brown, Goff, Ragnow. I can keep going on and on and on. One of the reasons you get into coaching is to make the people around you better. But the truth is that those group of guys, they made me a better coach and a better person. They inspired me every single day, and I love driving into work to work with those men every single day. One of the biggest pieces of the puzzle for me is my family, my wife. You've been the rock. I know it has not been easy. One of the most selfish things I've ever done is to ask you to come on this adventure. And you did it full steam ahead, no ifs, ands, or buts. And you've become a fantastic mother and such an incredible partner. This is not my journey, this is our journey. Thank you so much along the way. Rick Smith and Priority Sports, thank you for making this transition seamless for me. Things happened fast once the season ended, and you were able to provide all the necessary information to make an informed decision. Thank you for that. With that being said, I want to thank the search committee here in Chicago. It was clear to me from the beginning that the priorities were straight. There's only one way for us to have success here, and that's the right people in place. George, thank you for trusting the people that you've hired. It is perfectly clear that you're willing to provide all the resources necessary for us to build a sustained winner here in Chicago. Kevin, I appreciate your support as well. You're going to play an integral part of everything that we have going on. And Ryan, thank you so much for trusting and believing in me. What you and your staff have already built here is so enticing. This roster is absolutely loaded with talent already.
That
and
it
I look
is.
forward to building it with you.
Yep.
You and I,
agree.
as we've already talked about, we're going to be in lockstep every step of the way. I cannot wait to work with you. I told this search committee that I wanted this job. And there's several reasons why I wanted this job. The first is this place. For the last 10 plus years, my family and I have been coming up for a Cubs series every summer. And it doesn't take long to realize that this place is special. These people are special. This is exactly where I wanted to raise my family, my kids. I know we're going to have so much fun living up here in Chicago. All right? Number two is this roster that Ryan's already built. It is stocked, it's loaded. Everyone wants to talk about the quarterback, and Caleb, I'm excited to work with you, but it's going to take more than just you. And there are a lot of pieces already in place. And I can't wait to get to work with the rest of you guys. And then finally, I wanted to stay in this division. I know this is the toughest division in football right now.
Yes,
There's
it is.
There's 3 teams that made the playoffs this year.
It is a strong division.
I've got tremendous amount of respect for the coaches and the players in this league. Having competed against them for the last 6 years. Dan Campbell, Kevin O'Connell, you're talking about 2 guys that are up for Coach of the Year awards as the season ends here. And to be quite frank with you, I kind of enjoyed beating Matt LaFleur twice a year. With that being said, I do have a message here for the players. Get comfortable being uncomfortable. The bar has been set higher than it's ever been set before.
Yes, it is.
The only way for this team and for you as individual players to reach your potential is to be pushed and to be challenged. And that's exactly what I and my staff plan on doing. We are going to push, we're going to challenge. And along with those high standards, there's also going to be a high level of support as well. Everybody in this building is going to be all about helping you guys out. How do you become the best versions of yourselves? That's what it's going to be about from start to finish. When you walk in, it'll be crystal clear the communication, the structure, and the consistency, and that will never waver. Our mission starting this spring is to win and to win now. I get goosebumps right now just thinking about being the head coach of the Chicago Bears. I know exactly what this role and this responsibility requires, and I cannot wait to get to work. Thank you.
All right, if you have questions, you can raise your hand. We'll get to you with microphones. Please state your name and outlet before you ask the questions. Dan.
Dan Weeder from the Chicago Tribune. Welcome to Chicago. Saturday afternoon, you walked into Ford Field to coach a playoff game, and by Monday afternoon, you were agreeing to a deal here to be the coach of the Chicago Bears. Can you take us through the whirlwind of that stretch for you, and then also why it accelerated the way it did?
Yeah. A tremendous wave of emotions follows up when your season gets ended like it did for us. I'm still reeling through some of those feelings myself right now. It's a hard thing to do when you're around a group of guys as committed as we were to not only winning a division title, but getting the #1 seed in the playoffs, but following through by winning a Super Bowl and coming up short the way that we did. I'm still reeling through that, what I could have done differently, of course. As that game ended and exit meetings happened, information was brought to me about potential situations, and it did not take long for me to realize where I wanted to continue my career.
With that, then, when you were exploring the Bears as a possible place to jump to for yourselves, what questions did you want answered from this organization to assure that it was the right fit for you?
Yeah, I think to me, I talked about alignment last year when I came back to Detroit, and that was really important to me, was to see that the structure set up was conducive to winning. All those questions were answered throughout the interview process. The guys in front of me right here, George, Kevin, Ryan, I believe in them, and I really believe that we will be able to turn this place around.
Hey, Ben. Adam Hogue, CHGO. As you said, Dan Campbell is a unicorn, but I'm curious what you were able to learn from him as you observed him that you feel like you're going to be able to bring to your game as a head coach here in Chicago.
Yeah, Dan Campbell is truly authentic from the moment he steps into a building to when he leaves. He's entirely him, and I know everyone talks about being yourself, but he certainly embodied that over the last 4 seasons I was with him. So I will forever take that with me, along with his ability to empower the people around him. I've seen him totally delegate responsibilities, have complete trust in the people that he hires, and allow them to do their jobs. That's something that I plan on taking with me, and will do the same.
That's good. That's good.
Ben,
Now, why are we looking at
Jason
rumors
Leisure
of
with
Dennis
Chicago
Allen?
Sometimes. Two-part question for you about the quarterback, about Caleb. I'd read interviews that you did where you talked about being very selective about jobs, looking for a place that would set you up to succeed. And my question is, how much of a factor was your belief in Caleb, your assessment of him, and what's your starting point for how you're going to coach him to play the position?
Listen, it's clear that modern football in the NFL is quarterback driven. that is no secret. You can look at analytics. Right now, quarterback success is a higher predictor of winning and losing than turnover ratio, which it's been for 20 plus years.
You're not
Okay, that's
wrong.
changed. So there's no doubt Caleb played a large component into my decision. He is a phenomenal talent that had, as many quarterbacks do, an up and down rookie year. Where I see my role is as a supporter of him. This offense will be calibrated with him in mind. We're going to build this thing. This is not simply a dropping of a previous playbook down on the table and starting there. Nope. We're ripping this thing down to the studs, and we're going to build it up with him first and foremost, and then with the pieces around him next. I really look forward to challenging him and pushing him, as I said before, to continue to grow and develop.
Yep.
Hey, Ben,
Being
Courtney
focused on
Cronin,
quarterback.
ESPN. On that note, you looked at Caleb and said it's going to take more than you. And you probably better than anybody else know about the importance of the offensive line, but how long it took Detroit to build that unit. Is that something you can realistically replicate here with your goals in mind?
Yeah, I think offensive line is certainly an area that we need to get better play from going forward, something that Ryan and I have already talked about. We will develop a plan of attack for how to get that done, but I'm looking forward to getting an excellent offensive line coach into the building to help develop the young talent that we already have on
Which
the roster.
is rumored to be
we
the
will
one from
certainly
the
talk about
Lions.
acquiring talent
I forget his
to
name.
bolster that unit as well. But I was certainly blessed the last few years with the men that I worked with, and that was something I would love to replicate here as well.
Hey, Ben. Patrick Finley with the Chicago Sun-Times. You talked about alignment. Specifically, how are you aligned with Ryan? And how do you learn that when you're having a Zoom conversation and you don't know the man too intimately because of this process going as fast as it did?
Yeah, so here's what I'd say is Ryan did his homework. People on my end did our homework as well. So Ryan had left Boston College right when I was getting there. There's some shared history there. There's a lot of connections that may or may not have already been put together that people understand. I truly believe in the character and integrity of this man. In terms of true alignment, you're going to have to talk to the powers that be here. They can fill you in on that structure, but we are going to be locked at the hip and connected every step of the way with all the decisions that are made.
Ben, Matt Zahn from CBS Chicago right here.
Gotcha.
You've talked about before spending part of your offseason kind of taking a look at the big picture, what it takes to be a head coach. You know, there have been many great coordinators that haven't turned into great head coaches. What did you learn about what it takes to make that transition and what it takes to be a good head coach?
Good question.
The role and responsibilities are completely different, and I'm well aware of that, and I know that a lot of coordinators have failed in this role. Here's what I'd tell you is every step of my journey, whether it's quality control, whether it was position coach, whether it was coordinator, I have found a way to change myself to be the best in that particular job. And so now that the job requirements are changing and I'm no longer just coaching an offensive player or an offensive unit, this is the entire team. And the good news is this, I am a football coach, so I will be able to change and adjust accordingly. The most important thing that we do here is we establish the culture that we want in this building in the springtime. Accountability and integrity, they're going to be cornerstones of this. Team first mentality is going to be critical for us. I already talked about the communication, the structure, the consistency. That's going to be felt by our players from day one all the way through the end of the season, okay? And at the end of the day, we are going to lean on a professional work ethic. We're going to learn how to be pros here in this building. We'll be deliberate and intentional with what we do, and then we'll get out of the building and off our feet.
Hey, Ben. Mark Rohde with The Score here in Chicago. Welcome to the city. You mentioned that this roster is loaded with talent. So then when you look back at the Bears season, you know, enduring a 10-game losing streak, does that surprise you that a team with this type of talent endured that? And how close do they not need to make that many changes going into this year?
Yeah, listen, we'll evaluate the whole roster. I have not watched all the tape, but I have a good feel from game planning against this defense and certainly seeing the crossover tape with the offense that I feel really confident about the current talent level already in the building. Going into this season, I felt like this place was a sleeping giant. To be honest with you, I personally was more concerned about the Chicago Bears than I was anybody else in this division. Now, there's a number of reasons why that did not unfold, all right, which that's why I'm here. I'll get to the bottom of that, and we'll see if we can't get that corrected and cleaned up. But I was very encouraged with what was already on the roster right here, and like I said before, this division, as hard as it is, really excited about competing here.
Was it just the changes that they made going into the offseason that scared you the most about the Bears? Was it Caleb Williams? Like, what was it about the Bears that they were the...
Well, personally, we struggled with that defense here for both games that we played them in 2023, okay? So that was a huge deal, was knowing that as much as I struggled staying up at night trying to attack this defense, I knew what that was capable of, and then seeing all the weapons that they have on offense here was really, really encouraging.
Coach Deion Miller, ABC 7 Chicago, welcome. We're glad that you're here. You had this opportunity a year ago to be a head coach. You chose not to. Why are you more prepared now for this job than you were a year ago?
Yeah, a year ago, honestly, it was a similar situation in terms of being ejected from the playoffs prematurely, how we saw it. And as my emotions got the better of me at that point, I decided quite early on that I wanted to come back and take another shot at that in Detroit. This year, this offseason, summer, I was able to do a lot more thinking and just throughout my head, my process, what it would look like as the head coach, and I just felt a lot more comfortable in terms of making that jump regardless of how the season ended in Detroit.
Ben, here to the right.
Yep.
Pat, the designer, ESPN 1000. When your predecessors came in a very similar situation that you have, quarterback already in place, having to come in kind of midway through, excuse me, this rebuild being done. What is it that you can bring to the table that will make this situation end in a different manner than what we've seen in previous situations?
Listen, I can't speak to the previous coaches that were here. All I can tell you is this. Every step along the way, I already alluded to it, I found a way to excel in each job. So I'm deeply committed to finding a way to make this work. My core values really rest on work ethic, selflessness, and poise. And I expect that to be embodied within this team.
Ben, over here again, Courtney Cronin, ESPN. You interviewed for a couple other jobs this cycle. What specifically about Chicago tipped the scales in the Bears' favor in you landing here?
The people, point blank. The interview process was excellent for me, answered all the questions I was looking forward to, and not to mention the family atmosphere that they clearly outlined was a huge selling point as well.
Does having a quarterback, because there's some other teams that don't necessarily have their franchise guy, how heavy did that weigh specific to this opportunity for you?
Having a quarterback helps.
Ben, over here. John Greenberg from The Athletic. You've been in a lot of different offenses. You've worked for different kind of coaches. You seem to have a lot of different influences in what you believe in. Like, how would you describe what your offense is going to be about? You know, Caleb's different than Jared Goff. What would you describe to Bears fans what to expect from this offense?
Philosophically, what I believe in is similar to a blast from the past named John Shoup, and that is to make same things look different and different things look the same, all right? We want the defense on their heels. We're always going to be attacking on offense. We believe in multiplicity, and so that's both formationally and conceptually. We're going to make things very challenging on the defense each and every week. We want the ability to morph, whether it's 50 runs in a game or 50 passes in a game, it does not matter. Balance to me is throughout the entire season, not necessarily within the game. And with that being said, those are broad strokes of what this will look like. it's not going to look like it did in Detroit. We have a completely different personnel group than what we did in Detroit. So this entire offense is going to be predicated on the guys that we have available, and that's going to take the springtime as well as training camp to hone in to what that's going to look like.
Ben over here. Josh Buckalter, Clocker Sports. With all that you have on your plate offensively, how involved do you plan to be defensively, and do you foresee any sort of scheme change going forward?
Yeah, I think you have to, when you're the head coach, you have to be involved defensively. You have to be involved in special teams. That comes with the territory. And so when you talk about last year, why I went back to Detroit, part of the reason was I had not fully comprehended how to make that all work. I'm at a much better space right now in terms of time management, how I can be involved with all three phases. The whole key to this is being able to tie them together, play complementary football. And so I will be heavily involved both defensively and special teams as much as offense. It's going to be critical that I hire people that have some experience here in this league and I can lean on and I can trust. Defensively, there are a number of guys I want to talk to, and really it'll be predicated on who we decide to go with, what that defense is going to look like.
Hey, Ben. Kevin Fishbane from The Athletic. Ryan talked to us about how the quarterback development plan was going to be a big part of interviews and talking to coaches about what the plan is. How would you kind of characterize what your vision would be for helping get a quarterback to where he needs to be?
I think it's time on task. It's trust. I've already talked to Caleb. We're going to have to spend a lot of time together. The play caller and the quarterback have to be integrated. The quarterback needs to be able to see the game through the play caller's eyes. In my opinion, that's the only way it works. And so we're going to spend a lot of time together this springtime. Certainly during training camp, we'll be able to see how much headway we can make. But there's already things I've talked to him about that I've noticed in his game that I want to address and I want to go ahead and take a look at early and often here.
Ben, as you acknowledge the difference between a coordinator role and the head coaching duties, what gives you the greatest confidence in your leadership skills for this role?
Yeah, that's a great question. And here's what I would tell you is what gives me confidence is the players that I was just with and the respect level that they had for me, along with the people that I trusted in that building who would come up to me time and time again and assure me I'm ready. Chris Spielman, Mark Burnell, the people that were with me, saw me in front of the room, saw me in the meeting room. They believe in me. I believe in myself. I'm ready for this next challenge.
You used the word accountability a little bit ago. That was a word that the players used a lot this past season in this building. What does that look like to you? How do you define accountability under your watch?
Yeah, accountability is really, we're going to do what we say we're going to do, and we're going to be who we say we're going to be. And if we fall short of that standard, then there has to be consequences to that. That can look a number of different ways, but we are going to get to the point when we are winning here where our veteran players are going to take over the accountability portion of it. Until we get there, though, it's going to be on us as the coaching staff to outline what it should look like, what a Chicago Bear is going to look like, what that professional work ethic is going to look like.
Ben, Andy Seligman, AP. Do you plan to call plays on offense?
Yes, I do.
Okay. Along those lines, what characteristics then are you going to be looking for in an offensive coordinator?
It's going to be critical for me to find somebody that can organize and structure and set the table, particularly early in the week. I've been around a number of guys that have called plays in the past, and I've seen the potential pitfalls that could arise as you're coaching the entire football team and you can't get to watching as much tape early in the week as you possibly could. So it's going to, the offensive coordinator position is going to have to be somebody that not only I trust, but will be extremely detail-oriented, organized, and structured to set the table, and also willing to work late nights.
Ben, Pat at the Chicago Sun-Times again. When we talked to Ryan Poles a couple weeks ago, he talked about, hey, if I'm going to bring in a guy who hasn't been a head coach before, there's a value in him bringing in experience or people who have head coaching experience as assistant coaches. Do you have a plan for that? And how do you know, kind of big picture, how do you kind of know what you don't know, when you move up a chair?
Yeah, there's no question that experience, whether it's coordinators or elsewhere within the coaching staff, will be important to me. And that's why I look forward here after we get through this initial madness, if you will, we can get going on the coaching staff. That's going to.
All right, I'm going to go ahead and put a pause on that, and we're going to call it there for today. I know there's a lot more coming, but I just want to say that, he says some good things. He says a lot of great things. I believe half of what he says is true. I believe that he is going to work with Caleb Williams. I mean, as he should. That dude is they drafted number 1 overall. Make use out of him. Dude did not throw an interception last year, but also can't get rid of the ball. So, I mean, it comes down to quarterback first, and then receivers and running back second. I hope they make use of the running back that they've got and not draft one, but if they do, oh well. I honestly would not take. I think DeAndre Swift is just too good to just put in the bench. I really don't. I don't know why we're doing that with him, but I will say there's a lot. Like he said, there's a lot of talent on the roster. He's right about that. The question is how is he going to make use of that? Now, come the preseason, I'm intrigued to see it. I want to see it. I want to see the Bears. I mean, granted, it's the preseason, but I still want to see. I want to see some game come out of Caleb Williams. I want to see some game come out of Chicago. I want to see some, game come out of Keenan Allen if we decide to keep him, or if we decide, because he's on his last year of the deal. I know we got DJ Moore going to be, he's got like 3 years on his deal. So there's opportunities. There's opportunity after opportunity in that development. Plus, we have the draft. We can draft. Preferably, if honestly, I would like to see more offense. I would like to see a few key pieces on O-line, a few key pieces. If we have to take a running back, take a good one. Like, I understand you can get a running back anywhere, but like sometimes you just don't want one from anywhere. You want one from, like, you want to win. You have to look at who is, like, Saquon Barkley. Dude, get a Saquon Barkley on this team, right? Get a Saquon. Get a Malik Neighbors on this team. Get an A.J. Brown on this team. And we have that. If the plays are built right, which I know they will be, if he quit doing the flea flicker, he needs to get out of the habit. This is a bad screen. I just realized this is a bad screen to pause on.
To be a critical
that took me a
part
second.
That has solely won for the last.
Sure, we'll go with that. But again, I see a 9-18. Okay, I see a possible playoff. I mean, again, the division is strong. I will give him credit on that. He is right. The division is so strong. 3 teams made it to the playoffs, and it's the first time, I believe, in NFL history, if I'm not mistaken. 3 teams from one division. That's insane. That's really insane. I hope he makes it 4. I really do. I hope Ben Johnson makes it 4. The Chicago Bears, everybody talks bad about them because, they've not been as successful as they used to. But this is a turning point. This is a turning point in Chicago's history. This is a turning point in the Bears' history. This is a turning point this is a turning point in his career. I see this team. If you asked me yesterday or before this all went down, if you asked me if the Bears would ever make it to the Super Bowl, because I did, I saw that the Bears had. I mean, the Bears kept trading for so many good people. They built an entire draft roster last year and the year before. They were hitting the draft and they drafted fantastic. So I'll give them that. Now and all they needed was the coaching. Now they've got the coach to lead them. Now they've got the coach who can build the staff necessary to do the job and get them to a Super Bowl. Again, if you asked me yesterday or the day or before this stuff went down, if the Bears were anywhere near Super Bowl caliber, I would have told you yes, or I would have told you yes from the players and talent perspective. Dalton, you said talent perspective. What does that mean? I mean players. Not staff, players. Well, what do you mean by that? Why not the coaches? Because the coaching staff, the coaching matters. Coaching extremely matters. Without coaching, you can go to a certain distance and then call it, right? But coaching matters. Okay? We've got Caleb Williams on a rookie deal for 4 more years. And he's getting ready to use 3 of them to make it back to the playoffs. If it doesn't take 3, if it takes 1, so be it. But the second year, I want to see a Super Bowl. And I know it's a big ask. I know it is. But if you can make the playoffs, you know what? I take that back. I don't need a Super Bowl year 2. I need an NFC. I need an NFC championship match in year 2. Year 3, I want to see a Super Bowl. I just want an appearance. Right? But these are the standards that can be set now that the coaching staff is getting underway. Now that the head coach, who finally knows what they are doing, because they're right, a lot of coordinators have not made it successful in the NFL. That's why there are some specifically leaders of men. Nick Sirianni. Dan Campbell went from being a player to a head coach. Nick Sirianni, head coach. I think he went from being a coach to just a regular player coach to head coach. Missed the coordinator spot. Who else? I think Andy Reid probably. A lot of coaches are players' coaches. That's what separates them. between the coordinators and the players' coaches. Ben Johnson is both. I think he's learned a lot from Dan Campbell. I think he's learned a lot being a coordinator. And if he mixes those two and does the job, I think he's got a winner. There is a reason why they went after him. There is a reason, and it's because it's not only because of his offense is so good. But he elevates everything he touches. He makes things look different than what they are. And I think, and that right there, to me, that would be my thought process on who I would hire, why I would hire him. Ben Johnson earned the right to be the head coach. Ben Johnson earned the right to do this. He may have been gatekept at the Lions. Because sometimes you can only go so far. Other times, but when you move to something else, it's about growth. It's about finding you. Why didn't this work? What happened here? What failed? What can I not replicate over here at this new spot where I could win? I could win. We are in win-now situation according to Ben Johnson. Okay? That means they have to attack aggressively during the offseason. And with 80-something million in cap space, I see that happening. And then on top of that, playing strong in the draft. They picked up some talented people in these last few drafts. Caleb Williams was probably the biggest question. I've never seen a fan base question a quarterback choice more in my life than I have the Bears and Caleb Williams. Especially considering the fact that Jalen Daniels was sitting there. That dude, honestly, you could probably thank Caleb Williams for giving you Ben Johnson. Like, this is the guy. Like, if you had the other dude, Eberflus would still be head coach. But he's not. There's a reason he's not. Caleb is the reason he's not. Caleb needs Ben Johnson. Ben Johnson needs Caleb Williams. Right here, right now, this is the team that has so much potential to go back to the playoffs. This man right here has the ability to change the history in Chicago and start winning some football games. We have a tough schedule this year. Tough schedule. Let's see if I can find it. (2025) opponents. We have obviously the other three. Detroit Lions, Green Bay Packers, and Minnesota Vikings. Then we have the Cowboys. I don't fear them. The Giants. I really don't fear them. Hold on. Wait a minute. The Cleveland Browns. I don't fear them. The Steelers. Maybe. The Saints. Wow, it's been a while since they played the Steelers. Good lord, guys. I don't know if you're able to see that or not. Yeah, you are. We play the Saints. The Saints are in a quarterback or not a quarterback, but I mean, yeah, they are in a quarterback, but they are in the most interesting predicament I've ever seen in NFC opponent. They have 70 million under or negative cap space with no head coach, a quarterback who you can't get rid of, you can't cut him, you can't trade him, can't do nothing with him. And yeah, so there's that. That is our home opponents, which, by the way, I'm going to this one. I have a buddy who's a Steelers fan, and I am going to go see this. Then, for our away opponents, obviously we go to everybody else's home. Detroit Lions, Green Bay Packers, Minnesota Vikings. This is what I'm scared of. Baltimore Ravens, Cincinnati Bengals. Not scared of the Raiders. But we play Philly December 3rd. Not December 3rd, but I don't know when they play them yet. But we play Philly. I don't know how far that drive is. I kind of want to go watch. Then we have the 49ers. And last but not least, the Washington Commanders. With all of that being said, what are the Cowboys at home, right? Yeah, we play the whole NFC. Was it West? No, it's the NFC East. We play the whole NFC East in our game next season. Let me make sure that's right. Let's see. Yes, that we play the whole NFC East. Then we play one opponent from. Is it one? One opponent from the NFC West and the NFC South. This should be a cakewalk for them. I might have to bet on these games. No, this one, the Washington Commanders, if they beat Philly, I think they have to beat them at home. I think they're going to Philadelphia for that matchup. Yes, they are. Yep, they are. If Washington wins versus the Eagles, you know how long it's been since Washington has made it back or made it to the Super Bowl? I don't think they've ever made it to the Super Bowl. Nah, it could be me, and I could be old. Or I could be young. But I'm telling you right now, I haven't seen a Super Bowl appearance from them at all. 49ers, they're playing like dog water. I'm not really concerned about them. Baltimore Ravens and the Eagles will be a challenge. which is why I'm hoping that when Ben Johnson does his interviews and gets his coaches, I hope the defensive coordinator from the Ravens comes over. Cowboys, we should walk all over them. There's no excuse. No excuse. The Giants, no excuse. This is a decent... Out of all the games I think we can win, obviously I want them to win against these three, but I'm not going to count them. 1, 2, 3, 4. This is a big one. 4, 5, 6. Ooh, this is tricky. I'm gonna say they win against the Steelers, so that's 7. I'm gonna say they beat Philly, and that's gonna be 8. That's gonna be a hot take. And then I'm gonna say they beat the Lions, 9. They beat the Packers, 10. And they beat the Vikings, 11. Alrighty, guys, that's going to be it for today's episode. Hopefully, you guys have enjoyed. If you do, smash that like button, like and subscribe for more, and I'll see y'all later. Bye-bye.